Yo, welcome on in everyone, Kyrios here, and today we are going over the tier list for the chicken raid. Now that's the newest raid that just came out with also the unique equipment, so our amount of damage we need to start outputting is a lot more than before, and the meta is gonna slightly change with those weapons and everything like that. But we're gonna kick off this tier list. We're just going to sprinkle the characters everywhere, so we're gonna have anywhere from the E tier all the way up to the SSS tier. And if you do guys like the video, hit that like and subscribe. I do appreciate it. Let's go. All right guys, this tier list is going to be huge, and we're going to sprinkle these characters anywhere from SSS tier to E tier. So we're going to go ahead and start at the top, and with just the first one in SSS tier, which is Natsu. She is a game changer for chicken. She makes your life a whole lot easier, and she makes it so you could potentially run zero healer. Now this is really kind of zero healer when you have Akko that can do a little bit of healing, and her being completely maxed out in T6 gear and a bunch of other things, but she does make our life a ton easier. Next up on the list, we do have Alice. Now Alice is in A tier. Now Alice is going to be good, especially indoors for the chicken raid, and she'll sort of fall off a little bit when it moves to the other area, which I believe is outdoors. Like my brain is stuttering today, but Alice is amazing and highly worth investing in. She's definitely worth the 5-star. She's definitely worth the unique equipment. And if you have her, she's adorable, right? And we'll go from there. Next up on the list, we do have Chinatsu. So the reason why Chinatsu is at an A tier, it really depends that you get her EX skill to 3. And the reason why that is that chicken raid does put a debuff on your tank, and that's what makes Natsu very good, because she clears her own debuff. But if you have to use another tank, you have to use Chinatsu, or you can use Mari. But I lean a little bit more towards Chinatsu because she's useful in other areas. And so if you have to use a tank like Tsubaki or any other tank, any tank really, you're gonna need a Chinatsu in there. Next up on the list, we do have Casual Seiya. Now Casual Seiya is not a mystic unit, but she does have a very nice AoE. And she does bring that crit damage substat, so she gets a little bit higher rating than normal. And honestly, she almost could be an A tier just from the substat alone if you don't have like Hibiki, or you have to go in with multiple teams, or you'll have Akko, which we don't have yet. So her positioning could fluctuate, so keep that with a grain of salt, everyone. Next up on the list, we do have Summer Tsurugi. Now, Summer Tsurugi actually is pretty good, but just not as your A number 1 team. If you're bringing in a second team or a third team, obviously she's going to be great to get in there and just pump out a little bit extra damage. Next up on the list, we do have Serena, just a solid healer all around. Even though she's all the way down at D rank, definitely bring her in if you do need more healing. So don't feel bad about bringing her in, even though she's all the way down there. She's just not optimized compared to some of the other healers for this raid. Next up on the list, we do have Iori. We are going to drop in the B tier now. We're starting to get a decent amount of mystics, so you don't really need to bring it. And there's a decent amount of mystics that do have AoE, but she does have a great AoE, and she does do normal damage to mystic. So perfect for a second or a third team if you have a really decked out Iori. Next up on the list, I'm trying to look through here. Hoshino's not the best tank I would bring here, obviously, because it'll play with your positioning some and everything like that. So just really, if you're just lacking tanks and she's your most built tank, I would bring her in there. Let's continue with the E's real quick. We're gonna put the twins down there. Now the twins are good, but as a third or a fourth team for extreme, so take that with a grain of salt, and you really need to bring them together so they can kind of synergize together, right? And then finally finishing off the E's is Miku. And we don't have Miku yet, but not really anything to write home there about. But she does bring a little bit of healing, and she does bring an attack buff. Just a very awkward attack buff and a very awkward heal, unfortunately. Next up on the list, we do have Chirino. Chirino does bring that that crit resilience reduction debuff, and hopefully that goes on the big chicken. But this isn't really about big chicken, it's about ads. So you're bringing her for her AoE, which is debatable, and her CP. So you could fit her in as kind of like an offsuit in one of the teams if you just need to pump out some more damage. Totally viable. Another one that's in the D tier is Nonami. Nonami can bring a little bit more AoE. We probably have her built from cheese. You probably have her built from a bunch of other things. So once again, a third team would be primed for a lot of your penetration characters going into that. And then another one for the D, and we've got maybe two more there, is Kareen. And the reason why is that you're not going to be using her for EX skill. You're really just bringing her if you need an attack sub in your special slot. So if you're going in with your second or third team and you need additional attack, that's when you would bring her in, really just to be there to provide that buff. Now going up to our SSS tier again. Ooh, man. Bunny Kareen. Now this one was a little difficult for me to figure out. I had to do a little bit of research, but typically across the board, Bunny Kareen will outparse Alice. Not to say that Alice is bad, but Bunny Kareen does do a lot of good work, and she's positive indoors and she's neutral outdoors, so she's good in both the raids technically, so she does get a little bit higher rating there. Next up on the list, someone that we don't have but it's coming very shortly, is Akko. If you could fit Akko in, obviously you can. I'm putting her in S tier, but please take this with a grain of salt that this fight is very dependent. You can only fit her in if you have like everything maxed out. Like you have that Natsu, you have Bunny Kareen, you have Alice, you have Haruna, you have all the self-sustain you need, where you can just bring more raw damage and you can fit Kotama and her together, right? That's a very big ask, so take this one with a grain of salt, everyone. But just due to her buffs alone, she definitely gets an S rank here. Next up on the list, we do have Chise. Chise is a great additional DPS as a second team, in my opinion. Unless you're missing Alice or Bunny Kareen, then you'd probably want to move her up, and that's who you would pick from, assuming you're missing a few others. Next up, we do have Bunny Asuna. Bunny Asuna does bring that attack, or does bring that AoE attack, which is pretty good. But we're just not thrilled with her skills in general, other than her live 2T being absolutely amazing, right? So yeah, I think a B tier is about right for her, and definitely bring her in. You know, Mystic AoE is going to help you out, but not as your number one team. I don't think you're going to be pushing down the barriers of a number one team. Next up on the list, we do have A for Viking Shiroko. So honestly, I should probably put this one down one, but you need a few more characters. Viking Shiroko will be okay in certain locations, but she won't be that good for all the chicken raids. So this is really just if you need to plug and play. And unfortunately, her positive affinity, I don't think goes for any of the chicken raids. So this is really just if you need to fit some more people in. Next up, we do have Maki, and that rounds out our other healer. In case you need to bring in off, or you need to bring a different tank that's not Natsu, you could bring Mari, but I wouldn't level Mari over Chinatsu, in my opinion. That's how I feel about it. If you had to focus on one, I would definitely focus on Chinatsu instead. Coming up, we do have Asuna. Unfortunately, Asuna is single target DPS, but she is a 2-cost CP. So there's a little bit of playroom there, but she's not really going to help you out with this raid a whole lot at all. Honestly, she might be a little bit lower if it wasn't for the fact that she has insane attack speed and is a mystic, so she gets a little bit higher than some of our other rated characters. Another healer on the list, we do have Hanae. Hanae is a great healer, mainly because she brings that crit damage buff. Now she is actually pretty good because this is a single target damage. Typically your other DPS will take damage, but not enough to usually kill them if your tank is alive. So she's great to heal your tank, even if you do have Natsu and you just don't have a strong enough Natsu. She's a great healer to bring in to complement Natsu. So for that reason, she does get an A rank there. And then we are going to throw Hibiki here as well. And once again, this is a plug and play situation. If you don't need healing, you need a crit damage buff, right? And you may need to bring her in. But then you may not want to bring casual Seiya because you're already using too much CP because you have Alice and you have Bunny Kareen and you have a few others, right? So make sure that you are balancing your CP costs when you take some of these characters in. Next up on the list, we do have... All right, next up on the list, we do have Summer... Next up on the list, we do have Summer Mashiro. We're going to put her as a C rank mainly because she's single target. She is Mystic, yes. But she's really not going to help you out. I should put her a little bit lower if it wasn't for her Mystic damage. And that's quite a stretch. Quite a stretch. We have Kotama up in S rank because Kotama is always amazing, right? More attack, more everything. Absolutely amazing. Another surprise unit will be the New Year... Another surprise unit would be the New Year Mutsuki. Now, actually, she's actually freaking cracked for this fight, but she's more cracked on the outdoor version of this fight than the indoor version. So obviously, this is where some plug and play is going to happen, where you would put her in instead of Alice, or you would put some other people in. But if you can line up her attack properly so that she gets the maximum EX hits every single time, so she gets those pedals, she does a ton of damage. She does an absolute ton of damage. Next up on the list, we do have Emmy as a tank down here in the D slot. Just if you need a tank now. Once again, she is D slot, but she is a decent tank for this fight. I am going to put Tsubaki a little bit higher here at C rank because it's just Tsubaki, and Tsubaki is typically tankier with more defense. Now, Emmy is able to heal herself, but she does get hit a little bit harder than Tsubaki. Another one that we have is Izuna in the C rank. Now, Izuna is actually pretty good, but it's very hit or miss if she's good. It really depends on if all those chickens are stacked up properly. So when she does her shuriken, that it hits multiple people. If it doesn't, her value really does fall off. So I put her as a C rank because she can move up or down one rank depending on the fight, depending on how well that fight goes. Next up on the list, I'm trying to see here. Make sure we have Summer Azusa on the list at A rank. She's great. Now, she is single target, and I understand, guys, but like she's good as a second team when you're really just trying to push the boundaries. I've seen her used a decent amount, but I wouldn't use her over any of the other AoEs. You know what? I'm going to change my mind. We're going to put her down to B rank. We're going to put her down to B rank. I just changed my mind right now. I think I would rather pull Iori than her sometimes, depending on the second team. So for that reason, we're gonna push her down the rank. And then finally on the list, we do have Haruna. Haruna is an S rank for this fight, especially. She's absolutely cracked. If you can line up all the chickens in, you hit 3 or 4 with one of those blasts, absolutely amazing. So there we go. There is our tier list. I hope you guys enjoyed the tier list. I'll have it down below. You can click the link down below. I'll in order to view the tier list whenever you want. Do you think I got it right? Do you think I messed up? Do you think I put something in the wrong location? You think someone should be on there that isn't on there? Hopefully I didn't miss anyone. I think I double and triple checked this, but I might have missed one unit somewhere. And obviously we didn't get into the units that have released in the Japanese version, so we'll have to do a refresh of this at some point. But I do appreciate you guys hanging out. If you guys are still here, once again, like and subscribe. Follow me on twitch.tv channel. And I will see you guys next time. Fist bump from me to you.